We are going live for another Tuesday conversation with One Girl Revo. I'm so excited to welcome Molly Quigley and her dear sweet daughter Grace. So they're going to be joining us here in just a minute. So I'm going to give them a second to join. I'm so excited to have them on to talk about Made with Grace. Let's see. They're joining. Hi, girls.
Hi. You say hi, Gracie?
Hi, thank you
Grace,
for having us.
I'm so excited to have you on. It's been so long since I've seen you, Grace.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. I feel like we should have margaritas, but it's too early for that.
Couple hours.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
Yeah.
Grace just finished a math test and she's on a little break now. So this worked out as good timing.
What a cool break to take a break and then come on One Girl Revo to talk about this great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grace, is it crazy being home from school?
Really, it's really crazy being home from school.
Yeah. There's a little bit of feedback. Do you hear feedback?
We're okay.
Okay.
Sounds good to us.
It sounds fine now, so good. Well, I'm so excited to have you on to talk about the great work that you're doing with Made with Grace. So I want you to talk about that. But before we get into that, Molly, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about Clyde's, because you work with Clyde Restaurant Group. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what's been going on there, because I think we're not talking about the restaurant industry as much as we should be and the struggles that people are dealing with. All right, we're back.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Technical difficulties. I think it's so crazy because so many people are using Zoom now and all these Instagram lives. So I think it sometimes kind of clogs the system. So
Yeah,
it's
been amazing how we're adapting to
Grace and everything that you're doing to support the restaurant community. And but before we get into that, Molly, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, because you work with Clyde's Restaurant Group, which many people who are watching are big fans of all the different Clyde's restaurants. I know I've been to the Tombs a bazillion times and Clyde's, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how COVID is impacting the restaurant industry and particularly the service workers, all the people that you work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously been a very difficult time for restaurants, as many other industries have been hit as well. I'll say one of the interesting things about this challenge is how fast it sort of came on. It felt like we were watching the news and we were all aware of what was happening in China and Italy, and then it hit home so quickly. And I think a lot of us just weren't really braced for the impact quite yet. And, the other challenge is how quickly everything is changing and evolving. And that has been, a real difficult hurdle, and your response time is sort of critical. And, it seems like it was just early March and we were making all these planning steps to reduce contact points. We were making like QR menus and reducing tables just so that we were spread out more. And it seemed like we were doing the right thing. And within 24 hours, it was, we shouldn't be encouraging people to be out in public. And so then it was sort of pivoting from that. And it seems like every day there's a new guidance or new best practices, new information. And that's hard to kind of quickly recover and sort of stay up on your feet. So, it has been a challenge, but, I'm very proud of the team that we have, and we're constantly innovating. And that's, a big part of, I think, of our culture at our company is sort of the autonomy that our employees have to come up with ideas. And even myself as a very young person working for the company, I was given a lot of room to make decisions and grow. And that was great. And I learned a lot from that. But with that privilege comes a lot of obligation. And so you start thinking like it is your own family or your own company. And every paycheck you write or every check you write to something, you write it as if it's your own money. And so, you're really driven to come up with solutions. And so that's, I think, been great for us as far as keeping things interesting and going, is that we always have a new idea or a new project that we're working on. It certainly keeps us all busy. One of the first things that we did early on was we partnered with Martha's Table, which is a great local organization in DC. They've been around for 40 years, serving sort of food vulnerable communities in the district. And so we set up this company called Food It Forward, or this program called Food It Forward. And it helped create jobs for restaurant workers and provide food for communities that were suffering. And that was a great first step for us, and really kind of, right in the middle of March, kind of have something going. And we expanded that to Maryland and Virginia. So again, like creating more jobs for restaurant employees. In that expansion, we also delivered food to healthcare workers and first responders. So again, it just kind of created a little bit of volume for us.
Yeah, I think that that's been one of the coolest things that I've witnessed, is restaurants being so innovative and supporting communities and supporting people that may not eat otherwise, so restaurants that are donating. And I've been encouraging people, if they know a restaurant that's doing that, to buy a few meals, call up the restaurant and say, hey, I know you're doing this initiative. What can I do to support you? Can I pay for a couple of meals, just to support those initiatives too?
Yeah, I mean, and our Food It Forward program is not alone in that initiative. Even in our neighborhood listservs, you just see everything from, big organizations doing fundraising drives to ladies, down the street that are saying, just Venmo me and we'll order 20 pizzas to the ER. And so it goes from really grassroots to, a little bit more logistical planning, like ours kind of has. But yes, I mean, it seems like everybody is thinking of ways, and I have a very talented team that works with me. And one of the things that I have said from the beginning, and I know this about myself, that I could often be held back by being a perfectionist, or waiting for like the perfect moment, or trying for it to be all set up before you kind of pull the trigger on it. And we don't have time for that right now. And, I love branding just as much as the next person, but we ordered Mexican from Catch's Cantina, and the margaritas are in soup cups. And you know what? It tastes just as good. And
Right.
They didn't sit around waiting for like the perfect thing. Or we like to go for bike rides and get frosé from our favorite neighborhood restaurant, Millie's, down the street. And they serve them in kids' cups. It's what they had. And it works fine. It doesn't have branding on it, and it's keeping their employees working. And so seeing those really fast acting initiatives, I think everybody has to sort of readjust your standards. And so that's something that I'm constantly saying is like, listen, I know that I'm just as bad as anybody by saying, let's be perfect. But, right now, I think we just have to do our best and keep thinking and keep trying and keep pivoting. And so far it's worked pretty well for us.
Yeah, I think that for a lot of people, it's just challenging us to see what's really important. Even with our families, it's like, okay, what's really important, and where have we been spending all this time? And I think
Right.
a lot of times we've spent so much time trying to be perfectionists or trying to wait for the perfect moment for something. And it's like, we might be in this for a while with everything going on with COVID. So I think it's challenging all of us to kind of be innovative. And I know your family's done so much too. Like your husband is a musician, and so he played. I saw a couple of nights he was doing shows online, and the tip money was going to support the restaurant workers. So there's so many cool things that we can all do. And I just love I love following your family and everything you've done, because you guys are doing so many innovative things. Which leads me to,
I think that, probably like most women, I think a lot about work-life balance. And, I'm the first to admit that I fail more often than not about that. But, one of the things that I've sort of come to realize is work-life balance doesn't mean 50 and 50. And sometimes it means 80 and 20. And sometimes it means 20 and 80. And we've kind of always had a motto in our family that sometimes the Quigleys win and sometimes Clyde's wins. And there has to be that balance. You know, when all of my kids had lobster for dinner, they knew that it was a good night for the Quigleys, and they benefit from eating a lot of Clyde's food. And Grace has been known to put down a dozen oysters pretty quickly for a couple of years now. Am I embarrassing you? Sorry.
Grace, what's your favorite food from Clyde's?
The steak.
Steak.
The steak? Ooh. Yeah, I love everything. I love everything from all the Clyde's restaurants. So I love the steaks, I love the burgers, everything.
You say us too. But so, you know, it's hard when you wear a lot of hats that you don't necessarily take one hat off to put the other one on. And I do have to bring my work home with me. And that's, you know, again, of working for what has always felt like a family company, a family restaurant. You know, my whole family is involved in it. The kids have been involved in Clyde since the day they were born. And again, it's that privilege that comes with feeling like it is my company. And we work really hard to kind of take care of everyone. So, you know, you mentioned Jonathan, but he is an attorney during the day, but also plays music occasionally at Clyde's of Georgetown. And so since we don't have that ability to, you know, to all get together for a happy hour and have live music, he's done a couple of virtual happy hours. And, you know, we're looking for different types of content. And, you know, we all see in our regular feeds that we're absorbing content so differently now, that we're really craving for some sort of connection to people. Mm-hmm. And so even just doing a couple live happy hours on, you know, Clyde's Facebook or Instagram has sort of helped connect people. So, you know, everybody's on the clock, I think, these days, right?
Yeah. But yeah, finding innovative ways to build community. And I think restaurants are so, like you mentioned, Clyde's has become a family. They are your family or an extension of your family, and even to your kids. And I think you see that so often with the restaurant industry, where it really is a family. And then same for us in our communities. You know, we have these restaurants we love and support. And so I encourage everybody to get takeout from restaurants that they love and support, because now is the time that we need to do our part too, to support these individuals and families that are a part of all the different restaurant groups, because it's really difficult times for them and difficult times for all their workers.
Yeah, you know, restaurants just have very narrow profit margins to begin with. And it's a real struggle for many small restaurants to stay open on a good day. You know, and again, talking about how quickly this came on, you know, restaurants could prepare for downturns. You know, we know that if you have outdoor seating, it's going to be quieter in the winter, or if you're a cozy comfort food place, that maybe August is a slower time for you, but nobody was prepared for this. You know, so I do worry to what the landscape will look like when all of this is over, because a lot of the small places, even large places, but a lot of the places won't survive. So so takeout food is a good way to help. Mm-hmm. We've been doing a lot of takeout, right? And ice cream cones on our bike rides. And
see, it's the little things, the little
occasional support people.
So Grace, I want to switch over to you, because I want to talk about Made with Grace, because that's another way that you guys have been supporting the restaurant industry and people in need right now. Tell me how this idea sparked, and tell me what it is.
So it was one night at dinner, and my mom asked us all to pray for the Clyde's family, and so we started thinking about things that could help the Clydes, and I said, what about making masks for the Clyde's family? And then she said, sure, and that's how we came up with the idea.
So, you know, like I was saying before about things changing so quickly, you know, one of the things that changed it quickly was the guidance on PPE. You know, so from early on, it was like, don't wear masks in public. It's not helping. It's not safe. To then quickly saying we should be wearing masks. To then quickly masks not being available, or wanting to save professional medical grade PPE for healthcare workers. And understandably, we've all been very focused on the many employees that we had to temporarily lay off. But we also have a couple hundred employees that are working, and, you know, they are very close to me. And, you know, that night that we talked about it at dinner, it was, you know, I worry about them, and I'm very fortunate that most of my days are spent here in my bedroom. But there's a lot of managers and chefs that are commuting, that are going in, that are working, that are making the to-go food, that are packaging it. There are Uber drivers that are delivering it. You know, and I just wanted to make sure that we were keeping them in our thoughts as well. And so thinking about those 200 Clyde's family of ours that were still working, Grace came up with the idea to make masks for them, since at that time it wasn't standard. You know, nobody was really wearing masks at the time yet. So that's how that started. And then we kept going.
Yeah, because I think I saw one of the first pictures, because I follow you on Instagram. I saw one of the first pictures when you first started sewing. Grace, did you sew before then?
No.
No?
But I'm starting to learn how to sew because my mom's doing a lot of the sewing. And so she's, like, along the way, she's starting to teach me how to sew.
That's cool. That's a really cool thing. Everybody wants to learn something during quarantine. So that's a really cool thing to come out of quarantine and know how to sew.
Yeah, you know, for the record, I want to learn how to sew too.
There's got to be YouTube videos out there.
Well, we definitely have YouTubed a fair amount. And,
yeah.
You know, I could do a straight line, so the masks are kind of right up my alley. And, you know, Grace is pretty good at a straight line too. But there was definitely a point in the beginning where we thought, you know, we hope we don't get complaints, because our staff is limited right now. We can't really handle feedback on our mask sewing, and
you're doing what you can, because I think you used like some old, like started out with old clothing that you were just kind of cutting up and using. And
yeah, so we actually started with leftover fabric from like bedding that I made when my oldest son Connor and Grace were babies, and so they were just sort of scraps. And then our neighbor brought over a couple dresses from Amazon that didn't quite fit, and we cut those up, and then we cut up a sheet. And now what are we doing?
And now a lot of people are donating fabric.
So now we're getting fabric sent to us from family of Clyde's employees. So Mrs. Claire sent us more fabric than we could keep up with. We have aunts and moms and godmothers, all of Clyde's employees, managers and bookkeepers that are all sort of sending us fabric now. So now we feel like we have our work cut out for us. No excuse now, slow down.
So you're giving them to all the employees, of course, and like they have them there. But I think you had said that you were also giving them with orders, like people could give a donation, right, if they wanted a mask.
Yeah. So after we made enough for all the employees to have enough, then we had more, and so Grace put them outside on a table and said free masks. You know, this again was right when masks were starting to become suggested, and here in DC they're now required to go into grocery stores. We live really close to the Maryland border. Maryland also requires masks to be in grocery stores and when you're out in public. So it became suddenly a thing, you know, that you needed them, and it was sort of hard to source. So we kept sewing them when we put them on a table outside, and Grace put a sign and said free masks. Help my mom's coworkers. Here's a website. And so that became popular, and, you know, we just have sort of a small little neighborhood in Northwest DC. So we thought, well, how can we expand this? And Clyde's does have sort of a robust carry-out system right now with Uber and Grubhub and Postmates and all those sort of deliveries. So we added it to the online menu, you know, and the online menu is another way that we're continuously pivoting on what is needed and what we could provide. So obviously we have the burgers and the steaks and the buffalo wings, but now you could also order some flour or some yeast or a half gallon of milk.
Cool.
Some sanitizers, or what else is on there? Pancake mix, eggs.
Like all the essentials, which I think a lot of people, we're all running out of those things.
Exactly. And I mean, I think with our own household that we're just trying to limit our trips out, and we're certainly acting like good neighbors. And our neighbor next door is constantly texting and saying, I'm going out today, what do you need? Because you're always short a couple eggs or orange juice. So the idea behind this, what we're calling market pantry, is that you could order dinner and then add on bacon for breakfast tomorrow. Or if you need bleach, or, we have all different kinds of things available. So we added Grace masks to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now she's making some money, and all of the proceeds from those masks are going to our employee relief fund. So, Clyde's has 12 restaurants throughout DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and about 1,700 employees were temporarily laid off in mid-March. And so, like I said, it's a real struggle that people weren't prepared for. So this employee relief is a 501c3. It's completely tax deductible. And all employees could apply for grants through that fund. And so Grace's masks all go to that employee fund.
That's so cool. Grace, you must be so proud. That's such an awesome thing. Yeah. It makes so much sense to me. Like all these, everybody's home from school. I know that kids are still doing school online, but you have extra time on your hands. And I was so touched when I saw your story, because you're giving back. Like you're using this time so well to help other people.
And I found that as much as I know my children are all going to respond differently to things, this was really kind of eye-opening that the children all have reacted differently, and they're all okay reactions. My boys are equally as passionate as Grace is, but they're just feeling a little bit more blue right now, and that's okay. It's okay to be sad when they don't have Little League or their friends. And Grace's natural reaction is to say, what could we do? And I think that this has been very energizing for her, and that's her natural reaction, and that's okay too. So I found that I've had to sort of support, how she reacts in a crisis, and also how my boys react. And, so Finn just wants to cuddle more, and I'll do that with him. And Grace wants action, and, I'll try to support that. Because we all do sort of just react differently.
I think that's a really good point too, Molly. I was going to ask you, what would you say to other parents out there who have children who are at home? And I think that that's such an important note, is like to know your kid and know what they need during this time. And some kids, if they need action, let's get them to work. If they want to color pictures and give them to the neighbors, let's do that. Like imagine the power of that, or sewing masks, or, writing little cards to the elderly. There's so many different things that kids can do. But then at the same time, some kids just need to be like, they just need to have time to watch whatever cartoons they love, or read books, or cuddle time. And so I think it's so important for parents to know their kids and what their kids need.
And I definitely felt like I didn't understand that from day one. That not only do you need to talk to the kids differently, our kids are 10, 8, and 6, and so they all had a little bit different level of understanding. The older ones knowing virus and having a sense of illness and sort of the results of that, but also continuously reevaluating that. So, as the weeks went on, they had more news coverage, brought into their life, and they're FaceTiming more with their friends. And so there's certainly a point where you need to kind of check in again with them, because they're not handling it today how they were handling it on the first week. And there was definitely a point where it was fun not having school, and then it was sad not having school, and then it was stressful having school. And like all of us, we've kind of gone through the gamut of emotions. So we're just trying to listen to each other and trying to be gentle as far as our approach goes. And it's hard when we all have so much going on, but we're trying to do our best.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. Grace, what would you say to other kids out there who might want to do something to help other people? You're such an inspiration. What would you say to those kids?
I'd say go for it, because it's better if more people do it, so then we can make a lot more masks when it's helping Clyde, and it's helping a lot of people.
Yeah. And this is not the first thing that you've done too, right? You've done a lot of different things. Like I think one time there was a hurricane, one of the hurricanes, and you had a lemonade stand, right, to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
What
want to
makes
talk
you,
about me?
I remember there was a hurricane in Puerto Rico, and I wanted to help them, so I made a lemonade stand, and we sell about $100 for them.
wow, that's amazing. It's like all the, it's so, a little like a lemonade stand is just a simple idea. You can make such a difference and help people.
You know, there's certainly a little bit of nature and a little bit of nurture, I think, to it. And like I said, this is sort of Grace's default setting and how she handles difficult times as she thinks, you know, like how can I, she feels empowered by it. But also, you know, she has such a great community that I think has also really helped nurture that. So she goes to a great school and they really focus on service for others in there and finding sort of, you know, your true calling. And so I think, you know, Grace not only has that in her naturally, but I think her community has also sort of helped support that need. So, you know, when there was a hurricane in Puerto Rico, there was no thought to Grace about it. She, you know, again, it's like, what can I do? How can I help? Is that sort of first reaction. And who doesn't like some lemonade?
Right? Well, I think it's so important. It's so important for parents, again, to know their kids, to know how their kids are dealing with things. But if their child has an idea like that, to really support them because they need the community support, like you said, and they also need their parents to support them in those ideas too.
You know, and I've said in my own little village that, you know, first of all, I owe a lot of credit to my husband, Jonathan, who has pretty much been homeschooling the kids on his own, which was a little bit of a challenge for me to let that go. If you had asked him in February, like who the, you know, I hate to even name it, who the music teacher was or something, he probably wouldn't know or wouldn't know the email addresses. I was sort of in charge of the calendar and the home scheduling. And I had to step away from that. I had to sort of realize that I couldn't do, it's okay. I couldn't do as much for work right now. And right now, you know, what I can make a contribution to Clyde's. And I think it's really important that I'm focused. But the kids also we have 3 different kids on 3 different schedules and 3 different Zoom classes that they're in. And so Jonathan really had to step in and be that parent, be the one in charge of that. And I sort of noticed for myself that being so busy with work and being focused on that has really helped me through this time too, because I think that easily I could have found this to be a way more difficult time if I didn't have that to focus on. So I know that about myself, you know, that I need to stay focused on action. And I think Grace does too.
Yeah, no shock that you're mother and daughter. So where can people, we have a couple questions here about, people want to know where they can buy your masks and how they can support your work. So where can they buy the masks and how can they support the work?
They could find the mask at Clydes.com.
So right now the masks are available for purchase for carryout. So okay. If you're in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, you could order food, drinks, pantry items, and add the masks. At some point, we might switch that and make them sort of an online order, you know, like we would sell our t-shirts. But right now, we're selling them just with our carryout food.
Cool.
And to support it, if, you know, without that, all of the funds, like I said, go to the Clyde's Employee Relief Fund. And that's available on the website, Clydes.com, and it's employee-assistance.
Okay, great. And that's the 501c3?
Correct, yes.
Great. Cool. Well, I'll make sure that I link it so people can support it. And before I let you both go, I just love you so much, and I'm so grateful for your time and for you coming on. But I want to ask you, because it's such a difficult time right now, and everybody's having a variety of, they're dealing with a variety of different things. You know, we're all kind of dealing with it in a different way, but what's giving you hope right now?
Giving me hope is thinking of the good things that happened this year. Like, I get to eat dinner with my dad and my mom more often. And I like to think that I don't have to wear a uniform anymore. I just try to look at the good things in life.
That's good. That's really important.
We do have sort of a lake mentality around here. You know, we're in sweatpants and there's a lot of puzzles and a lot of fire pits. So, you know, as stressful as it has been, there's also, you know, a way more laid back vibe to our house. And, you know, again, I think I'm very busy right now, but I'm not stressed like I often am. I'm not managing 1,000 schedules and carpools and birthday parties. And, you know, maybe that's okay for a little bit to see the kids, for the kids to see me less stressed. I don't know that, I don't know that
I think
it'll
it's so
always
good for
be,
families.
but for now it is.
Yeah. There's obviously so many difficult things going on, but like Grace said, it's like you have to focus on the good things and look for the good. Even in your, like on the most difficult days, there's so many good things happening around us. And I see this time as a blessing. You know, there are definitely a lot of difficulties with it, but there's a lot of blessings coming out of it as well.
And if you ask Connor, he'll say that the Nats are still the world champions, and that hasn't changed. And they're undefeated, so
they're undefeated.
So we'll take that also.
Oh, I should have worn my Nats shirt next time. Next time we do this. But I definitely have been cheering from Michigan, so I never lost the Nats, and I can't wait to come and celebrate with you guys in October.
Us too.
Sure. So Molly, one last time, why don't you say the website one last time? So
it's Clydes.com and /employee-assistance.
Great. So everybody who's listening, go and support that. Support all the Clydes employees, because we love Clydes and we love everybody that works there. So
thank you.
Yeah. Molly and Grace, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. This was Grace's first interview.
Wow, Grace, you've been amazing. Yeah, you're such a One Girl Revolution, so I'm glad I got to have you on.
Thanks, Kate. Stay safe.
All right. Bye.